In this course, you will learn how to capture a recruiter's attention and get them to keep reading, and to lead the reader's eyes with consistent formatting and intentional spacing. Human beings have always had small attention spans. In this ever-connected world of constant stimulation, they are decreasing even more. In fact, according to a recent study conducted by Microsoft, most people's concentration starts to wane after 8 seconds. As a point of comparison, goldfish are at 9. We now have a smaller attention span than that of goldfish. Soak that in. Now we have to think about the implications of that on our career marketing materials. In a nutshell, this reveals a few quick facts, which is people don't have enough time or patience to read through all of your content. Even when people want to read your content, if it appears too comprehensive or onerous, they won't bother reading it at all. And you have to help the reader to get to where he or she needs to be, what they need to see. An example visually here on the screen. Neither of these documents should you be able to read verbatim. It's only intended to show you kind of the visual appeal from afar. You have just a few seconds to wow someone and make your case, which is why having this strong executive summary, kind of bringing out some important information right at the start, allows you to make sure that you're really kind of narrowing in, showcasing return on investment to encourage them to read through the rest of the document. But again, when we look at how recruiters view these documents, we're talking about taking less than 6 seconds on average to glance through. If a recruiter is looking at the document that you see on the left-hand side, I'm seeing a lot of extra white space. I can't easily see where one section starts and another begins. The information is not ordered as I would typically imagine, and it's difficult for me to figure out where they want my eye to look given the sporadic use of bold, italics, and underline. If, however, I refer to the resume on the right-hand side, again, I appreciate you can't read the content, that's intentional. On the right-hand side, I can clearly see the individual's name. I can identify the different section headers being showcased consistently with bold, capitalized letters and a blued trim. I can focus in on those areas that have bold information, and it's really calling my reader's eye and attention to that particular area. The long story short, if you haven't created visual interest with consistent formatting and a really good use of white space, you've sort of lost your opportunity with that recruiter. So let's look at some very simple formatting guidelines you may choose to include for your modern resume. First and foremost, consistent line spacing, font styles, and sizes. We've talked in the modern content video that you definitely want to avoid Times New Roman, but whatever font you're utilizing, be consistent throughout. Don't change the font size intermittently for no apparent reason, because it again distracts the reader's eyes from trying to skim through a document and get where they need to be. Be sure that your margins are wide enough to be within printable range. We typically recommend between 1 inch and 0.7 inches. Eliminate any first-person pronouns. This is what we term resume speak, which is that it is assumed first person. You would not use the word I, we, or our anywhere on the resume. It is assumed that the sentences begin with that. Not I helped to create, but helped to create would be the start of a bullet point, for example. Utilize parallel wording. Be careful and ensure that anywhere that you are listing a verb in past tense, you're continuing through the sentence in past tense. Make sure that if you're starting your accomplishment statements with verbs, they all begin with a verb. This use of parallel wording, as we term it from a grammar perspective, really allows the reader's eye to, again, kind of quickly absorb information and not get stopped up when it's being presented with different sentence starters. Be careful that your page breaks are happening in a place that makes sense for the reader and that it doesn't throw off their space as they try to move on to page 2. And finally, avoid orphans where you can. Orphans are when there is a single word that falls onto that second line. So I have a full word of context and then just one word, maybe the word one, O-N-E, falls on that second line. It's distracting to the reader and takes up some valuable real estate. So consider how you may reword that sentence to have it all fall on the same line, the first line, or if there's some additional detail you might choose to add so that you're taking up a little bit more space on that second line to avoid the orphans, right? Tight language, resume speak. I hope you're able to take these quick modern resume formatting tips and apply them to your document. Thank you for joining us. Visit our blog to access our learning library and more free downloads.